Hello and welcome to the aForm Show, the premier podcast for all things architecture and design across the MENA region. Welcome to your tribe. Today's episode is supported by SkyStruct, the groundbreaking construction and project management solution that's absolutely turning heads in the industry. They are bringing together architects, engineers, project managers, procurement, and essentially any stakeholder onto one singular platform. Yes, clients are included. SkyStruct is genuinely changing the game. Its tailored modules for construction management, inventory, labor, cost management help streamline the chaos of construction projects. They are rolling out very soon in Dubai, but you as a listener can get in early. Drop us an email at hello@aform.studio and find out how SkyStruct is the future, and it is here today. Now, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. Today we are joined by Simona Giacalone.
Hello, Alan.
Who is the architecture and design manager for MillerKnoll. Simona comes with a wealth of experience around all things workspace and design. She has tremendous insight into how we, as designers, can elevate our work with many interesting data points and key learnings. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, Simona. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alan. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it was super cool because obviously this is a brand which I admire very much. Big fan.
Great.
But I think that's a very good place to start about the brand, because if anyone was listening to the intro, and I hope they were, I specifically said MillerKnoll.
Great.
And it was not Herman Miller.
No.
It was not just Knoll.
No.
It was MillerKnoll.
Yes.
So maybe let's start there. Obviously, Herman Miller, well-renowned brand. Most designers obviously have heard of them, without much of an issue. But what do designers not know about MillerKnoll, for example?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, first of all, I would say there is nothing that designers don't know.
Okay.
Of course, I'm joking.
Yeah, we know everything.
We know everything, okay? No, well, I would say the name, the brand itself. Well, I go to conferences or networking events or, lectures. And when I say, hi, Simona from MillerKnoll, where? Sorry? MillerKnoll, Herman Miller.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, Herman Miller. And also for us. So I've been in MillerKnoll for 7 years. When we change it, naturally, it's very difficult to say Simona from MillerKnoll. I am Simona from Herman Miller. I've been Simona for Herman Miller for 5 years, and now it's 7, right? So it was difficult. So it's the name, but it's normal because it's been, I would say, 3 years. We are 2024, so 3 years, because the merging happened in 2021. So what happened? I remember still back at the time, it was June or July 2021, when us as Herman Miller employees, we received an email saying Herman Miller plus Knoll. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, we became MillerKnoll. So it's not only Herman Miller and Knoll, but under this holding, I would say, there are 14 brands. So Herman Miller has always been known for the workplace, for the offices.
Correct.
But thanks to the fact that now we have 14 brands, we are working on different projects, healthcare, hospitality, F&B, educational, because we have 14 brands. I'm not going to name all the brands, of course, even because it's a test for my memory. But, but for example, we have 2 Scandi brands. So they do ancillary, they do accessories. We have another brand that is from the UK. They do ancillary as well, but it's UK inspired design, which is interesting. We have a brand that does technology support tools. So we have a lot. Of course, we also have the heritage from Knoll and Herman Miller. If I name the Barcelona chair, everyone knows it.
Of course, iconic.
There are also pieces from Herman Miller, like the George Nelson lamp. If you know George Nelson, it's beautiful, right? So we have heritage pieces. We have new brands. And I would say that thanks to all the 14 brands, today we are designing the world, and we represent 100 years of history, I would say, but also why this happened. And this is the most interesting part. If you look at the history, so the designers from Herman Miller, let's say Charles and Ray Eames, and there are designers from Knoll, like Florence Knoll, Eero Saarinen, Henri Bertoia. Us designers, we all know that. So they all studied actually under the same roof. They were under the same academy. in the US. It was the Chromebook Academy.
Right.
So they were inspiring all together each other. And then they took separate paths. Some went to Herman Miller and some went to Knoll. And after 80 years, they merged together. Gotcha. I would say it's like the yin and yang of design that merged together again. So this is where we are. It was meant to be. It was love.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now that's clear.
Yeah,
we know MillerKnoll now. Yes. So I suppose my next question is, again, a lot of our audience is designers, basically. And for designers, obviously, we are all about, it has to look good. Of course, anything should look good, but it also needs to function well, right? And from my experience, I have found that designers need to generally be on sort of the cutting edge of technology, about what the new products are, and so on and so forth. And therefore, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's difficult to keep up, with, different things. Of course, now you can, every year you can head down to Milan and attend the salon and things like that. And that's fine. But I'm talking more on the sort of monthly, quarterly sort of update. So I suppose my question to you is, for the designers listening in, from your experience, what are the sort of, top 3 or top 5 design tips or learnings that you have that you can share with a designer who's listening in?
This is a very good question, actually. It's true. It's very difficult to keep up. And so I come from a Herman Miller heritage. So I have always talked mainly with workplace designers.
Correct.
And I must say that workplace design is one of the most difficult ones. So when you're, for example, working on a residential project, you might be talking to 1, 2, 3 stakeholders, right? So you do the briefing with your client and you have to put into design what you have generated with the client. You have to create something that feels home.
Correct.
And that represents the client.
Correct.
The client is made of generally 1, 2, 3 people, right? When it comes with workplace design, we have companies with 1,000, 2,000 more employees.
Correct.
How do I do it? We have so many stakeholders involved. And so how do I create something that is not only aesthetically nice, that has the wow effect? As we said, it needs to be functional, because I cannot create an office that is wow, I need that to be
working, functional.
Exactly. So how do I do it? So what are the tips? The first thing that I would do is speak. So speak with the stakeholders, with all the stakeholders involved. Why? I always say, let's say there is an office, from a medium-sized office, from a big one. We have different departments. I always say, speak with all the departments. If I have a company made of 100 people, of course, you cannot speak with 100 people, even because everyone has a different perspective, a different need, and so on. But take one person, a representative from every department, from marketing, from IT, from sales, from HR, and speak with them. Ask them, what is working today in the office? What is not working? What are the areas that you're using? What are the areas that you're not using? What is supporting you and what is not? All these things. Take notes and generate your briefing. Another nice thing that I can suggest is also, if you can, go to their office, spend 1 day, half day, and look and feel the vibe. Are they using the space properly? Are there some areas that they are not using? Their circulation space, for example, is it empty? Are they moving? Are they stuck at their desk? Are there spaces in which they can have impromptu connections? All these things are very useful. The second thing would be learning. Studying. Okay, as designers, of course, we have our degree, but you never have to stop learning. Considering the fact that, for example, when you do the interview, if you did the interview 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, you would take different data compared to what you would if you would interview your client today. Why? Because the way people work
is very different.
So different, especially after the pandemic. And it keeps changing. And I would say the work is changing at a faster pace that you imagine. So how do I know this? How do I keep myself updated? I would say as designer, choose a reliable source. There are many sources out there, but choose a reliable source that publishes data, interviews companies around the world. And if I can name some, there is Gallup, it's a global analytic advisory firm. So what they do, they have clients around the globe. They have 4,000 companies and they have 85 years experience of collecting data.
Right.
Read those papers. They recently published a new paper about how the workplace is in 2024.
Interesting. So is this more like a quarterly report type situation? Okay.
So Gallup, as far as I know, they publish yearly.
Okay.
There is another institution, which is Future Forum. This is a consortium made of 4 companies. There is MillerKnoll involved as well. There is LAC, Boston Consulting Group.
Right.
Big names, right? What they do, they publish a survey every quarter with, they interview around 10,000 desk workers. And these are all data that are useful for us, right? But let's say that as designers, we're busy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was just in my mind thinking, I'm like, that sounds interesting, but 400 pages of a report. I don't know if I have the time for that.
Isn't it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're super interesting. I mean, I read those because, of course, I need to be updated. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of work. So what I suggest is find a source that is reliable, that takes all this data and transmit it to the stakeholders. I can name one, which is MillerKnoll. No, but it's true. So apart from being part of the Future Forum, we actually read all this data and we transmit it to the designers or to our key clients. We have actually a group called Inside Group. This is what they do. And we recently published a new research called Design with Impact, in which we do not only talk about data, but we also have created some settings, design settings that actually reflect what the world of work needs today. So we have researched, we have studied, we have interviewed our client. What's left? Of course, I have to generate a sort of workplace strategy. So leverage feedback. So create your strategy and leverage feedback. Talk. Again, take notes. So I would say that you have to be the go-to person for your client. You have to be the trusted partner.
Yep.
And how can you be the trusted partner if first, you don't listen? Secondly, you're not updated. You're not studying. So I would say that these are the tips.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree, because just recently I was actually having this debate with another designer, colleague, friend. And we were just debating workspace in general, right? I mean, if you look at before COVID, maybe 5 years, 6 years back, open plan was like the thing, right? And we were kind of moving away from these cubicles, and then it was an open plan, then it was open plan with breakout spaces, then it was open plan, breakout spaces, plus some meeting rooms, open plan, meeting rooms, breakout spaces, and then a few offices. And then COVID happened, and then everyone was like, oh, we don't need an office at all, completely. Overnight. It's fine, we can all work from home. And then that evolved to, we kind of have to come into the office, but then do we need this much of office space? Then do we need an open plan? Do we now need only cubicles? So I feel like we went almost like full circle and came back to like where we were, which is very interesting.
Yes.
And I feel like it's still evolving. It's still not like we're settled saying, okay, this model that we have, this works for us. Yeah. So it is a very interesting sort of ever evolving thing.
Look, the only constant is change. And it's so true. Like
True.
Constantly, everything constantly changes.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So I then want to just again from your experience, because obviously, this is what you live and breathe.
Yes.
From the kind of projects you've worked with in the region, and, by region, I mean, even, Saudi next door, or, outside the UAE even, what are designers sort of leaning towards now? What do they like? What do they not like? What are they sort of saying, oh, we should do more of this, not so much of that? Anything that you can share?
Okay, so what are the trends, I would say, that are... Okay, cool. As we just said, everything keeps changing, right?
Right.
But what is happening right now? I have seen that people and companies are giving a lot of importance to well-being. And I'm such a big promoter for this.
100%.
And I'm not saying, so by well-being, what do we mean? It's not about giving fresh fruits in the morning
Or having bean bags in the office.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not only that. It's actually such a complex procedure. Mm-hmm. So I would say that we call it holistic well-being, right? So we have to take into consideration a lot of things. How many breakout areas there are, how many ergonomic chairs do you have? It's not about giving only desk and chair to the user, but it's also giving them the well-being. And well-being is represented by how do people can easily connect? How do people have access to natural light? There is also a certification in Europe. I don't know if it's here in the Middle East. When I was in Italy, it's WELL certification.
Right. I think it is. It's not a mandatory thing here. That's the thing. I mean, if the client obviously is aware of it and their other branch offices across the world have it as a standard, then yes, it is there here because the client will want it as a requirement. But as a sort of, standardized thing that you have to do it, no, I don't think.
Yes.
I mean, I stand to be corrected. If anyone knows any better, feel free to let us know. But to my knowledge, I don't think so.
Yeah, indeed. So in Europe, in Italy, it was not mandatory, but I could see a lot of companies that wanted to be like the most sustainable, the best ones.
Right.
They wanted to add the WELL certification. So what is it? It basically put down in numbers how much a company is taking care of the well-being of the users. And that's interesting. And to be honest, think about it. So when I feel safe in an environment, when I feel good in an environment at my workplace, I am productive. And the moment I am productive, the company benefits from it. So
100%.
It's a win-win situation. So that's why my mind goes crazy when I still see offices that maybe are dark. People are close to each other. Like, why? You're not benefiting from this situation. So why aren't you adopting the well-being, right?
Very interesting. So again, let's just say for, the purposes of argument, right? You have someone who is a business owner who is listening in, who says, Simona, I agree with you. I have noticed that our office is exactly that, dark, dingy, and our, company sort of revenue model is X, right? If I were to refurbish the entire office, for example, and, make it well certified, get the right designers, get the natural daylight and all that stuff, right? Is there data to show that my business will actually improve? Data specifically, because I know that all of us, common sense would say, of course it would, right? But for someone who's, sort of an operational business head, for them, is there something which we can say that, no, please look at this, or look at this case study, or we have seen this happen? Are there any anecdotes like that?
Well, generally, I have seen this in some companies that agree to take surveys with us.
Right.
Or also with external parties. So what we do and what the external parties do is we create a brief in which they have to fill in some information like how do you feel today in your office? What are the spaces that you don't like? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel good? Do you feel safe? All these things before. And then after 1 month, the relocation or the refurbishment. But the data can be also different after 6 months, 1 year.
True.
So it is tracking progress. We do have some data about some companies that we have worked with, and they agreed on interviewing their employees. And every data is positive towards after the refurbishment. Because when we talk with our client, of course, we take into consideration the furniture because it plays such an important role. Task chairs are very important because we are sitting 8 hours a day when we are lucky. And
yeah, I love that part. If we're lucky, which is so true.
Well, as designers, generally you're stuck on a project for the whole day, more than 8 hours, right?
100%.
And I always say this, but consider, so we take into so much consideration when we are going to buy a mattress. Needs to be super ergonomic, it needs to be the best mattress because we're supposed to sleep 8 hours a night. What happens with the chair? We are sitting 8 hours and maybe you're not choosing an ergonomic chair. So ergonomic chair is an investment. So it's not only the user, the employees, but it's also the employer. This is how it could help their employees to feel better through giving the right tools. Sit to stand solution also plays an important role, but it's not only about that. It's also important to have flexibility. That's so important. Flexibility is not a nice thing to have. It's mandatory. Flexibility can be when and where. You need to give the flexibility to the employees. Where they work, let's say they want to work sometimes from home, okay. Sometimes from the cafeteria, okay. Where they work also depends from the fact that I don't want only to work from my desk. I want to work around the workspace. I want to have a meeting, an informal meeting, sitting from the couch, not from the meeting room. So that is flexibility as well. That's why, for example, when we did the interviews, we asked the people, okay, considering the fact that you want to have flexibility, does this mean that the office is dead? Like, do you need an office? And most of the times, like 85% of the people said, yes, I want to go back to the office. And we asked them, okay, why? Why you need? So of course, the office is needed to do a lot of different actions. But between the main ones, the first one is I need to have focus and I need to have a quiet room because at home I don't have it. Not everyone has the same experience at home. Let's say you have kids, cats, dogs. Or whatever. It's very difficult to stay focused, right? So this is one thing. The second thing is I want to collaborate. I want to speak. I want to engage with my colleagues, right? It's very important. I once read a paper. It said, if you have a friend at the office, you're more motivated to go to the office. And this is so true.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, I can think of like 2 people already.
Right? Isn't it? Me too, to be honest. I have such a very good friend here and I need to come to the office because we need to catch up. It's very important.
100%.
And another reason, which is interesting, people want to go back to the office because they want to have time with their managers.
True.
Just imagine, I want to be mentored by my manager. How do I do it if I'm working from home or somewhere else?
True.
I once saw this TikTok. It was very interesting. It said, if you want to be noticed, you have to walk the floor. What does it mean? People need to notice you. You have to walk. You have to speak with everyone. You have to say hello to everyone. This is how the management knows you. And this is how you can progress in your career. How can you do it? You need an office. So all these things are very important. Having said this, give flexibility to your employees. That's very important. And give ergonomic tools. And when I say ergonomic tools, it's not only desk and chairs and sit to stand and so on, but it's giving different settings, which can be informal or formal, standing or sitting.
No, I agree. I love that term, walk the floor.
Yes, right? I saved the TikTok immediately. I said, yes.
No, that is quite awesome because it makes sense, right? I mean, that's a very good example of why the workspace is still needed. It's a very, very good example. Interesting. I actually have a bit of a testimonial, if you may, which is in a lot of the offices that I've seen, I'm not going to name any, they do not really care about ergonomic chairs, for example, right? And again, I'm talking, design studios, for example, right? Because that's obviously what a lot of our listeners can relate with. You notice over time that there's a life cycle problem with these chairs as well. Every sort of 2 years, you're, losing a wheel or, your armrest doesn't adjust anymore or something like that. And many years back, I actually decided to make an investment in myself.
Great.
So I actually I forget the name, but I'm pretty sure it's the Aeron.
Okay, yes, of course.
I mean, which I'm now told is like a very classical thing that everyone gets. At the time, I was just like, I really like the shape of it.
Yes.
And I must be using it now 8 years, 10 years or something. Still works like there's nothing wrong with it, right? And this is an example that I give to a lot of, colleagues and even clients for that matter, that quality lasts.
Yes.
right?
Mm-mm.
And quality is not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do see a price tag of whatever it is on the chair, don't see it as something which you're just buying and the instant value, but more the long-term value. And again, for me, I feel like I could see it because I actually experienced it, because I actually did go through that cycle. And therefore now I can very confidently say, yeah, that chair that I have, yeah, absolutely, no problem, So I think that is also something which maybe designers need to see, which sort of leads me to my next question, which is, as MillerKnoll, if designers want to learn more about the product, experience the product, sit in it, work in it if they have to, what would be the best way that you would recommend that they get to do this?
Yes, good question. So before answering this one, I want to answer to the fact that you acquired an Aeron chair and okay, it's an investment, but I always think that actually when you buy, something that is expensive at the beginning but lasts forever, you save money.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So maybe you spend now a certain amount, but you don't have to spend those money anymore. Like once you get a chair, that stays with you forever, like literally forever. Well, our chair actually have a warranty of 12 years. So for 12 years,
I didn't know this. I'm still under warranty?
You're still under warranty,
Wow.
Exactly. But that's the problem also. Sometimes when we sell our products, we don't see the clients anymore because they don't need it anymore.
Our products are so good that the clients never call us back.
Yes. Well, this is just a joke, but yes, of course. So answering your questions. So let's start from the basics, because every human back is the same when it's seated. I know it sounds like, what are you saying? But it's true. So when you're seated...
Regardless of how tall or short you are?
Exactly. When you are seated, no matter you're short, you're tall, you're fat, you're thin, it doesn't matter. So the lumbar and sacral position are always in the same position when we are seated. So that's why the chair should support you on those areas. And also when you're seated, the back has a shape, a natural shape, an S shape. So that's why it is important that the back of the chair is not straight, is curved.
Gotcha.
That's why all our chairs, of course, are curved. And the first indicator for a designer or for any user when they're buying a task chair, if the back is straight, that means it's not a good ergonomic chair. That's the first standard. The second standard is you need to be supported by the chair constantly. So I have seen people, for example, buying the Aeron chair, but not using it properly because maybe they're not touching the back of the chair with your back. So you're not using the chair. She's not supporting you. So for example, another standard when you're buying a chair and let's say you're reclining and then you go back to the upright position, and I've seen some chairs staying back there. They do not support you, right? They stay there. You have to...
Yeah, like lean back and pull it back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's another sign that that's not a good chair. Another topic, every client asks me this question: can I have the headrest on the chair? So ergonomically, you don't need a headrest. Why? So our head, when you are seated in an upright position, but also when you're standing, let's say, and you are 0 degrees, okay, the head weighs 4-5 kilos. Okay. The moment you lean forward or you lean backwards, so you lean forward when you're working, for example, on the laptop or when you're using your phone. The moment you lean, that head weighs 27 kilos, up to 27.
Wow.
So just and also when you lean in this way backwards with the headrest. So that's why ergonomically you don't need it. Okay. Just imagine spending hours. We do it actually on the phone, spending hours leaning forward, looking at the phone, depending on the degrees, of course. But let's say you have a 20 kilos on your shoulder, on your back. That's not good for your back.
Yeah.
The main reason for why the people are generally sick leave is because they have back pain. So you need a good chair. You need to be supported. This leads towards the next thing that I want to talk about is how should we sit? Because, okay, let's say you are a user and you have just bought a chair, a task chair, you have spent X amount of money. How should I sit? Because I said, if you spend this money, but you're not using it properly, it's a waste of money. So as I said, you should always touch with your back, the back of the chair. It constantly should support you, right? But also talking about the height, how the gas lift should position. Is it too tall? Is it too high? Is it too short? How do I know it? So the angle between the foot and the tibia, the leg, should be 90 degrees. Right.
Okay.
90 degrees.
Yeah, got it.
In the knee.
So sort of like your knees over your heels,
Yes.
feet flat on the floor. And sort of like your thigh and your calf being at like a 90-degree angle.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's the correct position. Another thing, considering the fact that the head is so heavy on our shoulder, you should obviously look right in front of you. So do not use the laptop because otherwise it's just too heavy on your shoulder.
Yeah.
So look right in front of you. How do you do it? With a screen. You should need a monitor arm, of course. And this is how you're sitting properly. I will be honest. I have listened, I have studied, I have taken trainings and so on. I do not sit in this way 8 hours a day. It's normal. I move. It is very important to move actually. And I'm a woman. Most of the time I cross my legs, which ergonomically is not the best. But the key thing is do not spend 8 hours in the same position.
Right.
Move throughout the day. And when you remember, sit in this position, as I just said.
I think there's a lot of designers listening in who are like, all right, it's time to get up. I'm going to take a walk and come back.
Yes. Well, people don't know it. It's normal. But I was also talking to a friend designer, and he said, well, okay, now I have a sit to stand desk and I decided that for my back, I will stand for the whole day.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
No, I said, no, why you're doing this to yourself? You're killing your back. You cannot stand for the whole day. Yeah, in fact, I noticed that actually I don't feel good. It's normal. So the ratio should be, remember to stand 10 minutes every hour. That's the key. If you don't have a solution, go walking, go take a coffee, go to go take tea or whatever. But remember to walk or move or stand 10 minutes every hour. This is for your health. That's it.
Yeah.
I once read a newspaper was saying, is sitting the new smoking? That's heavy.
Wow. But yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, like all designers, I mean, I'm guilty of it also. I mean, I think a lot of us complain about, although we're the designers, right? We should know better. Yeah, a lot of us complain about backaches and things like that. And I think it's because I think as design, it requires, especially when you're in that sort of, state of flow.
Yes.
When you're designing, at least for me, I can speak about myself. You don't really know where the time goes.
Of course.
I mean, if I get into like, doing like a floor plan, for example, and I don't know where like 3 hours have gone, and that's like a normal thing. I've spoken to other designers saying, hey, do you have the same problem? And they're like, yeah, it's the same thing. And then we kind of have to get up and stretch and, walk around. So yeah.
That's normal. That's when the sit to stand desk comes into play. Of course, if you have it, you don't have to interrupt your workflow because you would just be standing and then you can keep doing your floor plan.
Correct.
I can see this tendency especially in Europe, in the Nordics. Most of the companies, they do want it now. It's coming here slowly. It's coming.
Right.
In the US as well, it is quite common, but I can say that the best ones right now are the Nordics and Europe. But here I can see that there are some companies taking care of that. Most of the times it's the global companies.
Yeah. No, the Nordics know what's up. Like they know what their priorities are.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Very, very interesting. I mean, to be honest, as I'm listening to you, and I'm hoping with the designers listening as well, it's maybe the same thing. In my mind, I can almost now start to semi-sketch what like a chair would look like, right? I'm like, this would kind of work. This would be kind of cool, and things like that. So as we sort of wind down the episode, I kind of just out of curiosity now want to know, right? So obviously, under Knoll, like you mentioned, Barcelona chair, iconic, right? Me's big fan. So as an architect, right? If say one of the listeners are like, you know what? I am an architect or an interior designer, but I think I can design a good chair or I can design a good table or, a side table or, a lamp, whatever it is. Is there a certain process you would recommend that they go through? Like, refer to this book or refer to this designer or refer to this and learn about these materials or something like that, which can then encourage them to go and try out and see if they can make a chair or something like that.
Oh, yes. Well, there are a lot of books about product design. There are different books, one edited from Phaidon that talks about Herman Miller and talks about the design process that our designers back in the time, Charles and Ray Eames, what they did when they were creating their products. Charles and Ray Eames, they were obsessed by details. They were sketching for the same product, thousands of sketching. They were obsessed with creating models. And I can see, because of course I have been studying the history behind the brand and the designers. And I can see a red line. So I can see that there is a line in common towards all these designers. They were all obsessed by the details. And when they had to create a product, they created hundreds of models. They were testing it until they achieved the solution. For example, most of the products that were made in the past, let's say the Womb chair from Saarinen, he created this because there was no chair that allowed the user to sit in different positions.
Yes.
The Womb chair, in fact, when you look at that, is huge, is big. And if you want to sit with your legs on the side, you can do that with that chair. So that was purely innovation because there was nothing like that back at the time. So he tried to understand what is the material that can support a big chair. So again, of course, you have to do a lot of research. Charles and Ray Eames, they were the first one to create the molded plywood.
Right.
And how did they create the molded plywood? No one until that moment had a machine that could mold the plywood. So they built a machine that could mold the plywood. So that is pure innovation, right?
100%.
They became experts at doing that. So from that moment on, they started creating design made of molded chairs with molded plywood. And today those designs are still like one of those chairs is exposed at the MoMA, just saying. So as I suggest to answer your question, so details, models, constantly test. And yes, but another thing that I want to add, nowadays, back at the time, it was not important, but nowadays, sustainability. Choose sustainable materials, create something that is recyclable. If you can source recycled materials, put it together and create the product so that when the product has, after 20, 30, 40 years, once you have done it, if you break it down into pieces, you can recycle that piece. Sustainability is such a big thing right now. It's so important. We live on this planet. So I want to see every designer, every company taking that into consideration.
Yeah. That is really, really cool. Again, like as a designer, like I'm sure when you see me, you're like my eyes are maybe just like glazed over because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I could use, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, Desert Board, which does, sort of recycled, MDF sheets.
Yes.
Something which Richard from Collab was also showing me the other day was like this Luke leather type material. Sorry if I'm butchering the name, Richard, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And maybe a third item which is like a recycled aluminium or something. And automatically, just with those three in my mind, I'm like, you got MDF, which is a good structure. You got leather, which is a pretty premium finish, and you got, aluminium, which is single solid block type construction. And yeah, you can automatically think of something which would work.
Yes, definitely.
All right, that's my weekend sorted. I'm just going to be sketching.
But I want to see it, please. I'm super curious.
Sure. Absolutely. No, but that's awesome. It's always interesting for someone, like myself, to have these conversations, because these are what I think even our listeners, when they listen, and even there's someone with a pen just like doodling, like a chair or something like that, which is awesome. As we sort of, now conclude the episode, I kind of like to get what the future is, what the sort of looking forward looks like. So I think we've already kind of answered that. So in my mind, I kind of just want to ask you, Simona, right? If you could look at the design ecosystem, right? Obviously, you're very well involved. You have relationships with designers and so on. If you could tell them, hey guys, listen, whatever you're doing, keep doing that, but just do this one thing more and it will dramatically help. Is there such a thing that you can tell us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. That's fairly quick, but okay.
No, actually, for me, sustainability is such a big thing. It's very important as designers to choose whatever is sustainable. And if I had the possibility, I would not say yes to clients that do not take care into integrating sustainable products or solutions. That's the first thing. It's so tough. Absolutely.
100%.
It's so tough.
Especially when that might be your biggest recurring client.
Absolutely.
Especially a recurring client is the worst.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But as the trusted advisor, as the go-to person for the client, you have to convince them that, okay, try to integrate this, try to put this. This is a better solution, a more sustainable solution. So what I generally suggest is there is a super cool online platform that I also use when I work. It's called ecomedes.com.
Okay.
So it's like a library where most of the brands are there. And when you're looking for a product, you will see the product, but also the sustainability report of that product, the eco label, how much recycled content does that product have? Like all the sustainable information are there. It's just one platform.
Right.
So this is my suggestion. When you're working on a project, and if you can take sustainability into consideration, that's great. And to facilitate your work, go there on that platform. I would avoid those products that are not sustainable at all.
True.
So this is one thing. If you have the time, look at what are the companies that are truly committed into, reducing the carbon emissions? Or, for example, when they ship products, especially in this part of the world, we import everything. So the shipment plays such an important role, right?
Massive carbon footprint.
Exactly. It's massive. So there are companies that actually partner with some shipping companies that they use fuel that was created by recycled biomass. So Hay is one of them, which is one of the companies that we have. And it blows my mind. That's like, okay, we have to ship things, right? Because we have to, but try to incorporate sustainable solutions. Or also there are companies that source the materials next to the factory, to the, there is MillerKnoll that takes the marble, which is very close to the factory. So shipment is not. So all these things. As a designer, of course, I'm not saying, okay, refuse the client that doesn't care.
Yeah.
But try to integrate those sustainable solutions. So the planet is ours. Is ours. We're living on this planet. Our kids will live on this planet.
True.
We need to take care of that. And I see that there is this trend. A lot of people say, yes, by 2030, we will do this, we will do that. I want to see that in action, actually.
Understood. All right, designers, we got our mission. Let's roll.
We are the promoters for this, I would say.
100%. This is, again, for me personally, 10, 15 years back or whatever, I would have probably been, like a junior designer or something like that. So I can understand how it's a bit more difficult to find a voice and, promote that. But now I think, for me at least, it's a lot easier where I can sit across the table from a client and be like, listen, do the right thing. Like, do you have kids? do the right thing. You know, it's as simple as that.
Exactly.
And even if you don't have kids, just do the right thing. Like, this is the right thing to do.
Yes.
You know, and to be honest, again, I'm not saying, that what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not saying that I'm a Puritan in the sense that, I'm not thinking about anything else. I understand that, yes, there is a cost to it.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a time to it. And I agree that there is. But I'm more than happy to find that extra cost and time somewhere else in the project and not sacrifice on this.
That's great.
Because at the end of the day, this is a business and, it is led by numbers. So if you are going to do a lot of plus for sustainability, we can do negatives and other things, and therefore it all balances out equally to zero.
Yes.
So I think it is possible, definitely. And it's just a matter of how you sort of communicate that to your client.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yes.
Cool. All right. So as a closing tradition to the podcast, we have something called the aForm tradition. And basically what this is a question that's asked by one of our previous guests.
Wow.
To the future guest, not knowing who they are, and you don't know who the previous guest is. So it's kind of just a random question. Sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's quite serious and philosophical. But, we never know what we're going to get. So let's see what you have today. Hopefully it's a good one.
I'm kind of nervous right now.
Everyone always is, but don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, look. Okay, it's a very simple question, and I feel like I know the answer that you're going to give, but I'll try. Okay, so in your opinion, the most inspirational city that every designer should visit once in their life?
Wow, what a nice question. I love it. But I'm so curious to know what you think.
I have an answer.
Yeah, please tell me.
Oh, it's going to sound like such a cliche. Like I want a better answer, but no, I'm going to go with Milan.
Okay, because I'm from Milan.
No, I mean, if you've been there, right? If you've been there, there's design everywhere. Every single thing, right? It's not like, like in other cities when you go, you have to go looking for, oh, that building was designed by that architect and, I want to go see that. The minute you touch down, even something like the, signage in Milan is like so perfectly done. Almost every building looks like it was beautifully crafted and details, like you said, right? Like almost every building, even things like, the way that the whole pedestrian experience is with the sidewalk design and so many things, right? Like any type of designer, whether you're an architect, an interior designer, product designer, lighting designer, you'll find inspiration there. So for me, my answer would be that.
Oh, thank you. As a Milanese, I'm kind of proud. But I would say yes. My answer is definitely Milan. We breathe design. Another city that breathes design and architecture is New York.
All right. Of course. How could I forget?
Oh my God. I just came back from New York. It was mind blowing. The architecture there is crazy. It's beautiful.
Nice.
I don't know if you've been to New York, but there is this building made from Calatrava.
Yes.
Great. Miss has done different buildings and it's mind-blowing. You go there, you walk and you can breathe pure architecture. Yeah. And of course, for what concerns design and art and history, the museums there are great.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like undeniable. I don't know why that was not my answer. Like, it's a much better answer. Like, I'm already thinking about, the High Line and, Y57 and NYU. There's so many things. So it turns out there's many places to visit.
Yes, there are so many. But yes, so I would say that Milan is more into product design and into, for what concerns architecture, historical architecture. New York, well, of course, it's new.
It's its own category.
It's another thing, right? Yeah. It's skyscrapers and so on. It's a different types of architecture, I would say, but it's mind-blowing, the architecture there. So awesome. I would go into these two cities. Right. And actually, it's easy because it's a flight with a stop in Milan that goes to New York from here in Dubai. So.
Perfect. There you go. I feel like a designer was behind that. There was some designer who went to the airline and said, hey, you should try this route. I think it'll be popular.
I'm quite sure.
Awesome. Well, as we're sort of at the end of the episode, Simona, I wanted to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You know, time is the one thing that we all cannot get back. So I appreciate you giving us your time. I'm sure our listeners have had a very inspirational listen. And yeah, on behalf of the show, thank you so much for everything.
No, thank you, Alan. It's been such a great conversation. I've had so much fun with you. So thank you for the questions. And I loved replying to all these questions, and hope to see you soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And for the rest of you guys, we will catch you guys next week. Fellow aFormer, thank you so much for your time. If this episode added any value to you, please share it with anyone who may benefit. If you want to carry on the discussion, please get in touch with us over socials. We are at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aform.studio on email. That is at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aform.studio on email. Until next time, stay inspired.